Developing today, Prince Harry has failed in his bid to meet King Charles in September as he continues to make a veiled threat against the royal family that he will release another autobiography. You might call this Spare 2.0, or as I've branded it, Spare Us, if the royal family doesn't give in to his demands for reconciliation. Now, of course, we've seen the pressure that the mainstream media is heaping on the king, heaping on Prince William, heaping on Queen Camilla, heaping on Catherine, the Princess of Wales. But I believe they must hold firm. Angela Levin is Prince Harry's biographer. She also believes that even though the king is at Balmoral, he will not be seeing Prince Harry during this meeting. Angela, during this visit. Angela, what have you learned, and why is Harry so desperate after ignoring his father for so long? Why is Harry so desperate to get this face-to-face in Scotland?
Because he wants money. That's it. I mean, if now Netflix have stopped giving them all the money that they want, and he absolutely can't think of what's next he wants to do. He's not a guy who did polo. It was terrible. Invictus Games, it was terrible. He just isn't there to be an actor or anything like that. But he just has got to have money. I mean, he's got Meghan, who would be screaming for money if they're still together. And actually, he's got to live, this house, huge house with 16 bathrooms, and the children have to eat. I don't know if they have to pay for them to go to school, but he's desperate for money. So he's got to get it out of his father, maybe before the children go back to school in September. Or maybe they just have to get money because he doesn't want Meghan to have a lowly standard of living. It's got to be very high, and he wants to have money. He wants to have money, and that's it. It's got nothing to do with loving him and wanting to see him. And this crude, awful comment where he said, I don't know how much longer he's got to live. You don't say that about your father to millions of people who are listening. Disgusting. And I think it's all about him, and he's worried about Meghan because she would scream and shout, and he has to be the man of the house for that. And he's the one who's got to get it. Where is Meghan going to get it? She will try and, get another type of jam up or something like that, but she's not going to make vast money. Nobody wants her in a play. No one wants her in the cinema. She's just not absolutely wanted. They would rather step back. And also, if they see her or understand that she's giving Netflix a really hard time, why would they go anywhere near her? They're just not going to. So he's got to do it, and it's very hard for him. He's somehow got to beg his father to give him the money and shout at him to give him the money. Well, I mean, I don't know how he's going to do that, mixed it up. But he won't say sorry. He still hasn't said sorry. He still hasn't apologized. So why on earth should his father start giving him loads of money? I hope he doesn't. I know he's his son, and I know that, underneath he loves him. He just doesn't like what he's doing and with Meghan. But I mean, I hope that he doesn't realize that he'd be taken for a ride with all this.
If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today. Well, I hope that the king does hold firm. This September meeting must not happen, in my view. The peace talks have failed, let's be honest, because he leaked all of the information. The only way the peace talks would have succeeded is if the guy and his horrible wife could have kept their mouths zipped And of course, they couldn't. But look, according to Taz, has gone on this possibility of the new book, Angela, writing. So Harry has hinted that he has enough material for spare point O. He revealed that he has evidence that will shock the public as it was so damaging. Do we think that Harry will resort to blackmailing his family? Because he has certainly been dropping some threats. Thoughts, Angela?
Well, he's been blackmailing his family for a long time. He's been blackmailing them, saying he's not bringing the children over unless they get 24/7 protection. All four of them. He's actually, you don't stop two children going to see their grandfather or an older grandfather seeing their children. It's a nonsense to say because of the 24/7, but it's cruel not to let him see them. All you get is the back view, and that's it. I think that's the blackmail, and this is another ideal blackmail. I just hope that the king is strong enough not to take any notice about it, because if he does give him the money, and then there is this terrible book bringing out all sorts of little things that they've kept. And Meghan's kept a very careful diary, don't forget. So she would be very useful adding lots of things as well as actually making them up. And, it's not going to make any difference actually. So that's what the publishers want, and that's what will make a lot of money for the publishers and make a lot of money for Harry. And actually, I can't think William would have to burst with anger with him. And also Catherine, they can't stand any of their behaviour. When you're a royal member of the royal family, you want to have to give. That's the thing, it's giving. And these two just want to take. It's all about them taking. And you can't have that. It's not the way a royal family operates. And he's now out of it, so he can actually try and get the money for himself. He's 40 years old. He's not a baby. You can't expect his brother to look after him now. You can't expect his father to look after him now, because he's so rude and vulgar and doesn't actually say thank you very much.
Indeed. And the thing is, Angela, Harry and Meghan have obviously for a long time dropped lots of threats. Okay, there's always been threats. Oh, do you remember when Meghan said, well, I've discovered my diary. I've discovered my diary. And it was all about that sort of dog whistle to the royal family of there could be more to come. But the problem is that she knows that she doesn't want to have to release a book until after the divorce, because that's when the real money is. My team mocked this up, the potential cover for Meghan's book, which I think is quite appropriate, Angela, spare part. But in all seriousness, it is getting to the point, Angela, very good, isn't it? But it is getting to the point where she potentially might have to write the book earlier than planned because she needs the money.
Yeah, but people are not going to believe it. People won't. People were first shocked by the first book and then realized that it was a load of lies. And actually, she's not exactly popular now. 19% of people quite like her. And if she does that, she'll just be out. People won't buy her jam and her drinking or anything. And although she would like it, I think that the royal family would rise above it, because that proves that she's awful and that you couldn't have told her anything, because she wouldn't have said, okay, now I know XYZ. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell anybody anything. I promise. I'm so grateful. But I've never heard a word of gratitude in the 5 years. So she's not going to do that. She's just going to enjoy and wallow in trying to bring them down. And I think they shouldn't give them the money, and they should just carry on, not look at the book, shut the television off, and try it that way. I mean, in a lifetime, I don't think you would ever find anything so hideous and horrible and unkind. And it's shocking to have to know how to deal with it. But you have to be strong. You can't be weak and give in. You absolutely can't. You have to draw all yourself inside and hold on to yourself and not let two brats make your life impossible.
Angela, I do think that is right. But of course, should the royal family be fearful? Or do you feel like actually what Harry and Meghan have said has been so discredited over the years? I mean, if you look at sort of the high point being that Oprah Winfrey interview, and that was where it all fell apart. Because, of course, people like you and I knew that they were lying. But at the time, the mainstream media was on their side. The woke mob was on their side. But since that interview, Angela, over the course of 5 years, so much has been blown apart where I don't even know if they were to publish new books, or Harry was to publish a new book and Meghan was to release her autobiography, whether anyone would even believe it, because we know what they would do. The claims would become more fantastical, more ridiculous, more over the top, because, you know, they have to give more. The problem is they put it all out there in that Oprah Winfrey interview. It has been so spectacularly rubbished that she would then have to come back with even more claims. And given she is a proven liar, does it even really matter what she says now?
No, I agree. I don't think it matters what she says because I think people won't listen to most of it. But I think you will get over it. But if you actually read it and see how they dare say those things, I mean, everybody can say, "Oh, I'm fed up with you. Please leave me alone," you know. But if they make that as the start of a chapter, this is what they say to me, you know, it's going to be different because you can't say, "I never did anything like that." It's just choosing what they use, that you can say, "Well, I'm sorry I did that, but I'm not perfect. But on the whole, I am kind and I did look after them." I know the king looked after Meghan beautifully. He was thrilled she started. It was only after a while when he realized that she was complaining she couldn't get out. She was stuck there. She couldn't go anywhere. And she'd flown off all around different countries without any trouble at all. She couldn't they wouldn't let her have her passport. And that she got it. You know, that was a great big lie. There's anything, they're just going to think anything they can think of. But we've all got to sort of not take any notice, or take notice and laugh, or just say, "Gosh, I knew that she'd be awful about this," and move on. You know, you can if you expect it a bit. The first one they didn't expect was just appalling, but this one, I can't imagine there being a single nice word there. So, you know, this will happen, and I hope people won't buy it as much as they bought the other one, but I expect they will because they can't probably believe what she dare say.
But first, these days we're living through economic whiplash, soaring prices, vanishing savings, and headlines that seem designed to confuse more than inform. Now, we're told this is all normal, that history's been rewritten for our own good, and that embracing these changes is the only path forward. But every outlet tells a different version of reality, and the so called fact checkers are just enforcing the approved narrative. But luckily, there's a solution. It's ground news. Hands down, the easiest way to stay informed because it cuts through all the spin, all the bias, so you can actually see what's going on and then make up your own mind. So I have it on my phone, as an app, and in my bookmarks online because it's become so essential to my daily life. See for yourself, by the way, at ground.news/outspoken. But I want to show you this incredible website and app in action before I tell you about today's deal. So let's use the very controversial story of the UK pop star, washed up pop star that is, using her BBC podcast with fellow presenter and close friend Montecito Oliver, equally awful, claiming she doesn't know how many abortions she's had before settling on 4 or 5. So what Ground News allows you to do is clearly in one place over 60 sources, 67 sources in fact, covering the story. And then it instantly shows how the story is being covered by the media, broken down by whether the organisations lean to the left or the right. This is what's called the bias distribution chart. Then you scroll down and can literally see every headline about the story immediately, along with the political bias and ownership of the publication. So most of the coverage here is from outlets on the right because the left decided to shy away from covering such casually offensive comments. When looking at the headlines individually, the left-wing outlets that did cover the story tried to do so with sympathy. We Got This Covered praised her for challenging taboos. The Daily Mirror described it as a heartfelt admission. And Metro News went all out, arguing you can't judge Lily Allen's abortion confession and be pro-choice. But the coverage on the right-leaning outlets, far more strident. Fox News honed on the fact she was laughing during the confession. The Western Journal dismissed her boast as revolting. And The Spectator declared we should be outraged by Lily Allen's 4 or 5 abortions. Now, my favourite feature of Ground News is their blind spot feed, because what this does is every single day surface upwards of 20 stories that receive the majority of coverage from one side of the political spectrum. If you love the news, like I do, this blind spot feed is the best way to get a balanced perspective on what's really happening in the world. So go to ground.news/outspoken or scan the QR code on the screen to subscribe today. And check this out, you will get 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use for unlimited access. That's ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show. Yeah, Angela, let's talk about William and Catherine, because it's been really interesting, actually, where they are going to end up. And I was actually the first to report, Angela, this was a couple of years ago now, that they were eyeing up Royal Lodge, which we know is where Andrew lives, and they were hoping that the Duke of York, because he was disgraced, would be happy with a move to Frogmore Cottage, which had obviously been beautifully done up quite recently by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. But that's not happening. That is off the table. Andrew is very, very clear. Nothing is going to get him out of Royal Lodge because he has that lease. And Adelaide Cottage, which is where William and Catherine are now, is obviously a very beautiful house, but small. You know, they can't have any staff or anything like that within the property. At one point quite recently, Angela, it was considered them actually moving into a wing of Windsor Castle, which I think is probably where they are going to end up when William is king, rather than Buckingham Palace. My personal view, and I know it's a controversial one, and I'm very sad about it, is that Buckingham Palace will actually never be the private residence again of a monarch, because there's no way Charles was moving there from Clarence House. Obviously, he can hide behind the fact that it's being renovated at the moment, but fundamentally, Buckingham Palace is going to become a ceremonial property rather than a private residence. So I think William will end up eventually at Windsor Castle. But what about in the interim, right? When the children are getting older, they need a bit more space. Well, fascinatingly, it looks like it's going to be Fort Belvedere. Now, this is where Edward VIII sealed his abdication, Angela, and there's some fascinating details in this article from the Mail on Sunday, which I'll take you through. They revealed, their defence editor Mark Cookham revealed, for 3 years the Prince and Princess of Wales have brought their children up at Adelaide Cottage, a peaceful refuge in the grounds of Windsor Castle. But the cosy 4-bedroom house, which is relatively modest by royal standards, was never going to be the forever home for William, Kate, Prince George, Louis, and Princess Charlotte. Royal sources have told the Mail on Sunday that the Prince and Princess are considering upsizing to a grander residence. One option, according to sources, could be Fort Belvedere, a magnificent Gothic revival mansion nestled in a hidden corner of Windsor Great Park. Built in the 18th century, Fort Belvedere became the favourite home of Edward VIII, who lived there before he became monarch and after he abdicated to marry Wallis Simpson. In fact, it was there that he signed the papers which sealed his infamous abdication in 1936. The sprawling Grade 2 listed property is set in 59 acres of grounds and has an outdoor swimming pool and tennis court, which sources say is particularly appealing for Kate and Charlotte, both of whom are enthusiasts. Known as the Fort, the country house also features a rose garden, walled garden, kitchen garden, large greenhouse, stables, 2 lakes, paddocks, and 3 cottages for staff. Several cannons used to be positioned along its battlement. One well-connected source told the Mail on Sunday they feel they have outgrown Adelaide Cottage and need somewhere more substantial. This is the perfect new home for them. It has a swimming pool and tennis court, and Charlotte loves playing tennis. William and Kate both have previously been linked with the potential move to Royal Lodge, the 30-room mansion in Windsor where Prince Andrew lives, but Andrew resisted pressure to leave. This newspaper has learnt that an alternative plan involved the Prince and Princess and their family moving into a wing of Windsor Castle. However, that is also understood to no longer be viable. Now, Angela, I actually have no problem with the future king needing a proper residence in Windsor. So why not Fort Belvedere? It makes sense, doesn't it? This is a property, by the way, owned by the royal estate, but it's been rented out privately for a long time, Angela.
Hmm. Well, I just wonder whether this is another trick to say that so that people think that they're being very rich and greedy. I would like to wait a little bit. I can't quite see why they want to leave where they are now when their children, one of them is going to go to a school which is not going to be keep coming back. That's George. And then there's just two of them. I don't know. So we'll take it that they're right, but it still is an if with large capital letters. But, it's a wonderful place. And if that's what they like, it's going to take a long time to, get it repaired and looking nice. The last person who was in there was a billionaire from Canada who died in 2021. So they've got to do an awful lot of work. And I just think they don't like showing off about it. I think maybe if they get a sort of good a piece of grass where Charlotte can actually play football, then she might be very happy to be there because she loves it so much. But otherwise, I can't see that they really want to do that. But I might be wrong. We'll know a bit later. Things turn up and then suddenly they're everywhere over newspapers. But it's going to have to be tremendously redone. And for such a big place, one thing Meghan would be pleased about is that she's got 16 bathrooms and they've only got six. So they must actually probably get a few more bathrooms there. But it's not absolutely, it looks enormous, but it's got lots of different things within it. But it's going to take years before they can actually have it properly redone. So
So this would
I
be
think it's
quite a
worth talking
while
about, but
off, Angela. It's a long-term plan.
yeah.
And yeah, okay. All right. That makes sense. Angela, I was also really interested. I know you've looked into this a lot with this new story, a little bit of royal history, Angela, that has emerged about the real reason Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, didn't attend Princess Diana's tragic funeral. Now, I found this fascinating. It's from the new Sean Smith book. Let me take you through it. It reads, however, one person that was missing from the proceedings was Prince Edward's girlfriend, Sophie. This was despite the fact the couple had been dating since 1993. Writing in his new biography about the Duchess of Edinburgh's life titled Sophie, author Sean Smith has revealed that Sophie chose not to attend the funeral because she thought it would be too upsetting for the crowd, due to how remarkably similar her and Diana looked in 1997. Smith wrote she had an obvious and reasonable excuse. A friend at the palace explained Sophie decided it would be too upsetting for the crowd if she went. She's well aware that she looks like Princess Diana from a distance and made her decision in a caring and thoughtful way. The royal family fully supported. Now, Angela, I don't know if this matches up with your reporting on this, but I found it fascinating because, of course, there was no love lost between Sophie and Diana. So was this true, Angela, or is it a convenient excuse?
No, it wasn't a convenient excuse. I mean, she decided not to come because she wasn't yet engaged to
To
Edward.
Edward.
Yes, she wasn't exactly engaged to him, and she thought it was inappropriate. Now, what the Queen often said about her was that I love her so much because she's so quiet, and if she's in a room with me, you wouldn't even know she's there. So, what she liked about her was that she was very cautious. She didn't want to like Meghan sort of go in and here I am, and I'm going to do this and that. She was very quiet. Don't forget, she came from an ordinary middle class home, and she didn't want to burst into the royal family and find out that she's doing everything wrong. She also had a bit of trouble over her work, where she was a PR, and it was, she was saying rather nasty things about several people, and the guy was a journalist and then published it. So she was extremely embarrassed. And so she really didn't want to put herself in any sort of bad position, and she didn't feel she deserved to go to the funeral. And nothing nasty at all. I don't think she's nasty one bit. And so that's how she didn't go. And the Queen, some of that comment was taken rather badly, but actually from the Queen, it was a huge compliment, because she liked to be with her. They went to church very, very often together. They would sit down and she would be quiet, and she liked that, and natter, 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 natter. And I think it was, I don't know if it was a good idea or not, but I can certainly see that she would feel awkward if she wasn't yet engaged to Edward.
And Angela, what was the truth about this relationship with Sophie and Diana?
I think that Diana was in a difficult time by the time that Sophie appeared. She was very, very unhappy. Her marriage, she knew, wasn't working at all. And she was very tense, and she didn't look for trouble, but trouble was always around her, she felt. And then when she had, a very attractive, gentle, happy, smiling, laughing girl who came along as well, no, and she would feel a little bit jealous and a bit superior. And so it was difficult, but they weren't unfriendly. But I think that she didn't like the fact that she could look a bit like her, and she wasn't as high up as she was. And I think that at that time she was so unhappy that you can't blame her for things like that.
No, indeed, indeed. I mean, look, it was one of those friendships, Angela, that was strained, but I could have seen as the years went on, actually Diana and Sophie forming quite a strong bond. Sophie changed so much, didn't she? She went from being this sort of hard-assed PR, and then she was captured by the News of the World and that sting where she said some really terrible things about the royal family, and it was a horrible moment for her, but she kept calm, and I think over many, many years has proven that she is an asset to the royal family, actually, and I think Diana would very much have come around to her. But of course there was going to be some natural jealousy, and I can't blame Diana for that, because she was on her way out of the royal family, and that was so difficult because she didn't want to be on her way out of the royal family. It was because of the collapse of her marriage to Charles. So I understand, and I think Sophie probably made the right decision, although it is quite shocking still to me, given she had been with Edward for 4 years at that point. But as you say, they were not engaged. Absolutely fascinating stuff from our Royal Mastermind, Angela Levin. And of course, if you do want first access to our Royal Uncancelled After Show, every single weekday here on Outspoken, you get it first. You get it either live or on demand. And check this out, no advertising whatsoever. Then all you have to do is sign up to my Substack, www.outspoken.live. Substack is a free speech platform. It protects me against lawfare. It protects me against cancellation by big tech. And most importantly, some people ask, look, what's the best way I can support you, what you're doing on Outspoken? And it really is signing up to the monthly paid membership on Substack. So let me repeat the address, www.outspoken.live. Angela Levin, thank you so much. We'll speak very soon. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.